At its zenith, the Roman Empire was a colossal superpower that stretched across 3 continents, possessing unparalleled military might and cultural dominance. But how does a civilization this dominant completely fracture? The forces that eventually tore this empire apart were present from its earliest moments, beginning with a story of betrayal and blood. Legend traces the city's origins to Romulus and Remus, twin brothers abandoned as infants and left to the current of the river Tiber. Rescued and nursed back to health by a wolf, they grew into men who saw the potential for a city right where they were saved. The brothers couldn't agree on a name. In 753 BCE, the feud ended with Romulus killing Remus, ensuring the city would bear his name alone. Rome began not with a treaty, but with a fratricide. This established a precedent where political power was something to be seized through violence and dominance, rather than shared through stable institutions. By the 1st century BCE, the Republic rapidly expanded across the Mediterranean. Sulla conquered Athens, and Pompey marched into Jerusalem. Julius Caesar pushed further into Gaul, relentlessly campaigning against Celtic tribes until their surrender at the grueling siege of Alesia. The Roman Senate feared Caesar's growing popularity and demanded he disband his army. Caesar refused, crossing the Rubicon River and sparking a civil war that eventually ended the Republic. Caesar returned to Rome as a dictator for life. He enacted sweeping reforms, including the creation of the Julian calendar, but his absolute control led his fellow senators to assassinate him in 44 BCE. Afterward, Caesar's heir Octavian teamed with Mark Antony to defeat the assassins before ultimately turning on Antony at the naval battle of Actium. In 27 BCE, Octavian was appointed Augustus, becoming the first Roman emperor. The vast territory was now so large and complex that the Republic's systems had failed, requiring the oversight of a single, absolute ruler. This new era brought stability, but also internal terror. Emperor Tiberius used a network of informants to hunt down traitors, while Emperor Nero resorted to heavy taxation to pay for the city's repairs after the Great Fire of 64 AD. Despite these internal strains, the imperial engine reached its maximum territorial extent under Emperor Trajan, with borders stretching from modern-day Britain all the way to the Persian Gulf. Trajan's successor, Hadrian, recognized a growing crisis. The territory was now so massive that defending every mile of the frontier against external threats was becoming logistically and financially impossible. Hadrian shifted the empire's strategy from continuous conquest to containment. He ordered the construction of a stone wall across Britain, a physical boundary intended to stop northern rebellions and consolidate Roman authority. This was the moment the Roman machine finally stalled. After centuries of advance, the cost of garrisoning and maintaining the current borders had finally eclipsed the profits of further expansion. By the late 200s, Emperor Diocletian split the massive territory into 4 regions governed by a tetrarchy, sparking civil conflict. Constantine the Great briefly reunified Rome, granting religious tolerance, but strategically moved the capital east to Constantinople. This shift left the western half of the empire vulnerable. Simultaneously, nomadic Huns began pushing Germanic tribes, like the Visigoths, straight into Roman territory. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. The Visigoths sacked the city of Rome, the first time in 800 years a foreign army occupied the capital. The final end came in 476 AD. A Germanic general named Odoacer, originally sent to support the crumbling government, instead deposed the young emperor Romulus Augustus and seized power for himself. The ruins of the Roman Forum serve as a physical record of this collapse, marking where a global superpower once stood before it finally buckled. The empire was ultimately crushed by the weight of its own borders. The same drive for expansion that generated Rome's wealth eventually created a territory so massive it could no longer be